Hello everyone from the city of Amsterdam, from one wonderful country that I am proud of to be based in. And today we are Summit, global initiative that brings us all together to look at different specifics of artificial intelligence, implementation, practice, making our lives better, making our decisions more automated. Today we are streaming, actually not in a standard way from our own houses, but we are in a beautiful venue called Amsterdam Adam Toren in Dutch, Adam Tower in English. It is a prime location over here to come and visit. This is the hub for women in AI Netherlands. The view is fantastic and the crowd is tremendously professional. So with me in the studio today is Maarten Sukel, the lead for artificial intelligence in the city of Amsterdam. Thank you, Maarten, for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
And also we have today a guest, a speaker from Switzerland, Lorena Rivera León, who is economist at World Intellectual Property Organization. Hi, Lorena.
Hi. Hi to everyone.
Thank you for joining. The topic as defined in our agenda is AI and the city, assessing the impact of artificial intelligence. But we're going to talk about global perspective first, going into the national economy, and from there, example of the city of Amsterdam. If I may start, I would like to ask a question first to both speakers to just briefly introduce themselves, and then we go into the questions with Lorena first. Lorena, what do you do in life and your especially career?
Hi, thanks for the invitation, first of all. My name is Lorena Rivera León, as you said. I'm an economist at the World Intellectual Property Organization in Geneva. And I'm part of a department that deals with economics and economic research. So I'm in charge of doing one of WIPO's flagship publication, the Global Innovation Index, which the 2020 edition was just launched last week. So it's a very timely invitation, and I'm very happy to discuss briefly with you some of the findings of this year.
Fantastic. The question that I asked, what defines an innovative economy?
Yeah, so this is a very tricky question and a difficult to answer. So in the Global Innovation Index, what we try is to actually measure innovation. And this is a very difficult thing to do because not only because innovation is a broad thing, but also because how countries measure it, it's very different from one country to the other. So what we have been doing for the last 12 years is to have a framework, indicator framework that allows to measure innovation. Now, the approach we have at the WIPO is to see innovation as a very broad topic. So it's not technology center, but also we see that it is important to have a broad spectrum of characteristics in the country to make it innovative. So here we have what we call pillars, which is the areas of innovation that we seem important to characterize an innovative economy. And basically we have institutions. So an innovative economy have very strong institutions, have a very strong human capital and research system, have obviously very good infrastructure, not only in terms of technologies, but physical infrastructure. This is, of course, very evident for a developed country, but in developing countries, it can make quite a big difference, and has very sophisticated markets and dynamic markets. So this is what we call the inputs of innovation. So it's what comes into a country to be able to measure it. And on the output side is how countries actually manage to use all these assets they have, the five pillars I said, to translate them into results. And here we talk about knowledge and technology outputs, which can be very different things, but basically it's how this knowledge is used for creating new knowledge, to have some impact and to diffuse it across the economy. And basically, and finally, we have another area that we call creativity, because it's in creativity it's the biggest enabler of innovation, and we try to measure creativity by talking about intangible assets, creative goods and services, and also creativity online. So this is the framework we have built over the years to try to characterize how innovative a country is.
Mm-hmm. And this is the criteria that you're using for Global Innovation Index.
Yes.
That you just announced. It's something recent from September 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, exactly, last week.
Ah, fantastic. So everyone on our call webinar, if you are to search for GII, Global Innovation Index 2020, you will find a link to the report, which is published, right? It's
Yes.
open for everyone, accessible by everyone, correct? Women in AI Netherlands will be following up on the session and sharing the link as well. But if you're curious already, please do search and you'll find very, very interesting report about innovative economists. Right, Lauren, thanks for the introduction. My question would be regarding artificial intelligence. Does it play any role in defining how innovative the countries are?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence is an area that we have been trying to measure for some time now. However, as I said, we have this measurement limitation. So we cover 131 economies around the world, and to be able to include any indicator in our methodological framework, we need to be able to measure it in at least 80 countries. So for AI indicators, these are, of course, very broadly developed in the past few years in developed countries, but it's not the case in developing economies. So we have that limitation. And of course, we have the other question on how to define AI. That's one challenge. And then how to measure AI, which is probably the largest one. So we don't have any AI metrics so far. We're in the hunt to be able to capture something that goes into this direction. But for now, we are limited by country coverage and data availability.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So AI is more and more becomes also certain criteria, but I would understand that other technologies like blockchain, Internet of Things are very important as well to consider, not just artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Then if we look at the innovation index, what are the top 5 countries that you have announced as the most innovative in your report this year?
Yeah, so no surprises this year, once again. So our rankings are obviously dominated in the tops by developed countries. Once again, and for the 11 consecutive year, we have Switzerland ranked as the most innovative country in the world, followed by Sweden. Then we have the US, the UK, and on 5th spot comes the Netherlands.
We made it to number 5.
Yeah. So number 5, which is actually one.
It's a 5 top country that was announced right now. You are doing great, obviously, with any technology you are practicing and any innovation approach that you're implementing. Lorena, so 5 countries. This is it inspires me how different they are from those who were finishing the race. So what is that in between that those 5 stand out?
Well, if you look at the criteria I mentioned before, these 5 countries obviously have a very stable political environment, a very safe regulatory and business environment. They have research and human capital systems that are top in the world. There's no question about their availability of infrastructures. And of course, their markets are very accessible credit-wise, investment-wise. Competition is open. They're very integrated globally in trade and value chain networks around the world, but also have sophistication in terms of their businesses, meaning that their workers are highly skilled, knowledge intensive. Their innovation ecosystems are also very linked, meaning there is interactions between university and the private sector and the public sectors. And also they're able to translate all of this into actually some results, which is something we don't see in all countries and especially in developing countries. So they're able to translate all of that into either some of the measures we have, of intellectual property, for example. They're able to create patents, publications, citations. They're able to internationalize their inventions. And they're also able to create goods and services that are used worldwide. So this translation of inputs into outputs is something very important and probably very easily given for developed countries, but it's very hard to achieve. So all of these 5 top countries in the world are good at doing this.
Thank you for sharing, Lorena. This is useful knowledge for the understanding by our community how countries are defined as innovative. And so, Netherlands. Is there anything specific that made it to stand out and feel in the 5th place?
Yeah, so the Netherlands is quite an interesting example because, well, again, I'm not going to repeat myself what I just said, but basically an interesting part of this is how intensive the collaboration between university and industry is in the Netherlands, how inventions, Dutch inventions, are actually internationalized. And then if I look as well, they're very good. They're very well placed in online creativity, for example. So all of these ICT industries. So all of these characteristics, I think, make trying to make the link to AI make for a very prolific environment.
Okay. That's, I guess, a nice bridge from the Netherlands to the Amsterdam case. Yeah. First of all, Lorena, thank you so much for finding time to speak to our audience, to bring all this this understanding of how you define innovative economies, and also sharing a few examples during the call. I think it's not the last webinar that we're having together. I would love to dive deeper into.
Sure, it looks like we lost Eve again. They were going to go on into the Netherlands, into the Amsterdam case. But basically, I just take the opportunity to share with the audience where you can find our report. You can find it through the World Intellectual Property Organization website, wipo.int, and also through the Global Innovation Index website, which is globalinnovationindex.org. And there you can find the 2020 report available online. It's free of charge, and you can see a lot of insights for all the 131 economies we covered this year.
Thank you for presenting the report. Connection is a little bit poor, which is jammer, as Dutch say, or bummer, as the global community says. But let us continue with the discussion. Maarten, so you oversee the whole spectrum of AI in the city of Amsterdam.
Yeah. So specifically the development AI for the city of Amsterdam, so for the people living in it. We want to get the powers of AI to be used in a beneficial way for the city as possible. So basically, I'm programming the thing, but I'm also what we can do, and basically getting everybody and getting the possibility of technology based on the city. That's my awesome job. Not an awesome job, but I think the job is awesome. So,
I believe you do implement AI in a very awesome way. Before we speak about the use case of Amsterdam, may I ask you what's your for this year, next year, 2020, because 2020 will count, right?
I'm coming as well. We're doing a really good job. This year, during the COVID-19 situation, we got some amazing things going on. So we have the EKI lab, the collaboration between universities and companies. We just launched a new lab there together with the EKI labs. The City of Amsterdam, we launched the Civic AI lab. So we have 5 PhD positions that are not going to be researching how to make more profits with AI, but they're going to be researching the domains of education, health, welfare, mobility, and environment. So that's really cool. Those positions are open right now. So if somebody has academic ambitions, go to the website, Civic AI lab. And at the same time, we also started a team within the city with some really talented people that are now working on making all these use cases reality. So from making them from a video to actually being deployed in the city. And we'll go into that later, I guess. So yeah.
Okay. So if anyone is interested, please check once again. What's the name of the lab?
Civic AI Lab. If you Google this, you will find it.
Okay, Civic AI Lab. And for the AI and civic purposes of its implementation, could you please share with us what are the visions of AI for the city well-being?
Yeah, so I would say a few years ago we started with something very simple, so machine learning to route service requests. So somebody would make a notification about a boat going too fast in the canals of Amsterdam or making too noise. Sometimes people do make too much noise around Amsterdam. That's definitely the case. Or when somebody wants to notify us about garbage being on the road, and we were using machine to route this more efficiently. So that was also already pretty effective. But the cool thing we're doing right now is instead of waiting for somebody to contact us, we're driving around with vehicles with computer vision capabilities, so they have scanners, and they're actually scanning for issues in the city. So we have a whole new way of knowing what to do. So as the city government, we're responsible for maintaining the city, and basically a whole new way of seeing the city, like exactly what should be and what we should fix before something becomes a nuisance. So that's, I think, one of the cool use cases. This project is also completely open, so it's free. It's called the Application Kit. ODK AI. Find more information about it, and you find source code, the model used for the detection. So that's also how we work. Everything we do completely open source, and we want to work together with our cities because it's something we can do together. And AI is going to be helpful in solving challenges we have in this century. So, yeah,
absolutely. The chat that we had regarding. There is a case coming up. You can move the infrastructure of the city, and like also where you can collect or dump your glass or the paper. You use algorithms, right, for automating everything to put everything together.
Yeah. So more and more, it's we're using we're optimizing this. So whenever garbage is collected, we will weigh how much it is, and we use this past data to optimize how to clean the streets more efficient. And basically, if our trucks have to drive less kilometers, they will have using less energy, and we will be more environment friendly. So all the optimization we can do is amazing, and for that we need information. And the nice thing about AI, they also create a whole new range of sensoric possibilities. So you can detect at the same time, collect the data you need for optimizing your system. So that's something really cool about AI. It can solve its own problems. So if you have a shortage of data, you can use the AI to gather more data. That's basically a technique. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. Speaking of time, I think we are in the Q&A now, approaching the end of the session. Please do share in the event feeds your comments, questions. We are to accept 2, maximum 3 minutes. And then there's another session that is coming up. You see empty chairs on the side. That means we have everyone to be here, everything to be completed. And for now, let's use the momentum to answer to your questions. Right, if I may have the questions. Thank you, they're ready. Okay, so for the question, are there any surprise countries that ranked high or low on innovation? For example, are there any developing countries that are ranked well, or vice versa? Surprise would be Cambodia goes number 4 in terms of AI implementation. So, Lorena, the question is for you. Are there any surprise countries?
Well, I guess surprise, I'm not sure it is a surprise, but we see within the years, we see a lot of the landscape of innovation moving towards Asia. And one probably not so surprising country that is rising every year is China. So this year we had China again in the rank 14th. And this is, the only middle-income economy that makes it so high into the ranking. So we see this innovation divide where developed countries are in the tops, but we see more and more developing countries joining. And I mentioned Asia because China is the main example, but we also have other economies like Vietnam, the Philippines, India, going really, really fast into the top ranks.
Okay. Thank you. I hope we answered to the question that's been asked from our community. Do we have another question? What is the biggest AI challenge for the municipality of Amsterdam at this moment? Maarten, question is to you.
Yeah, I would guess. Yeah. So the biggest challenge with AI is it's a really big concept. So I think it's a really powerful technique, but it can be used to do good things, but it can also be used to do bad things. So I think for us the biggest challenge is to not make the things that we do not want to happen, like the rigging of elections, no, not rigging, but influencing of elections, things like this, or those bad sides of the technique, we should stop those. But at the same time, we do want to use the same technique to increase livability in the city. So I think that becomes very nuisance, but it's very tricky to make this difference, explain this difference. So not all AI is bad. So it's a really broad range of techniques. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is communicating that, like we're going to use it and we're not going to use it, and get that message out, and why we do this. Yeah. Okay,
thank you. Ethical responsible AI, is it a key focus or just any AI is good?
No, it's really a big aspect, of course, because all the things we do within an ethical framework where we value transparent accountability. We also hopefully can get other people that also to use the framework. So we're actively developing like the stuff that describes working with data and AI in a way that you make the right strategy. So it's a really nice towards that work for everybody in a positive way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess on this note, we're finished. I don't see more questions from you, but please reach out to speakers, connect with them over LinkedIn, experience the Netherlands, read the report, Global Innovation Index, and stay tuned with us, Women in AI Netherlands, part of this global, amazing non-profit do tank called Women in AI. And we are here to facilitate the new change towards very ethical, very sustainable, and very gender-based and balanced future. Thank you for the power. Thank you for the session, Lorena, Maarten. Thank you so much for your time, and we will be back with you in a few minutes with our next session called the Deep Tech Paradox. Where are the women? See you soon.